Welcome back to Owen Clips. This is brand new vlog footage that hasn't been seen on the main channel before. I was going to vlog this session and I was originally going to make it a higher stakes one, but I ended up playing 2-5 at Encore and just didn't have quite enough footage to make a full vlog to put on the main channel, but I still got into a couple really interesting hands and I wanted to share them with you guys. This seemed like the perfect place to do it, so hope you guys enjoy. Let's go ahead and get started. We're at Encore planning to play the biggest game in town. It doesn't look very good though, so instead we buy into the 2-5 game for 1,500. That's the max here. A few hours go by without much action. We're about even when we pick up Ace-3 suited in the hijack. I raised it 15. There's no shortage of customers. The button calls, the small blind calls, and the big blind also calls. We're going 4 ways to the flop. The dealer's nice enough to put out Jack-5 deuce with 2 clubs, giving us a gigantic combo draw. Any club or 4 will give us a monster. Checks to me. I don't anticipate anyone connecting too hard with this. I bet 35 to either win right now or build a bigger pot in case we're able to drill a future street. Even if we get raised, we can either call or re-raise. The button is like my sophomore year Spanish teacher trying to make my life más difícil. He raises to 120. We've got the big draws blocked, and the button has 3 opponents still holding cards, so it's very unlikely he's doing this as some sort of bluff. He probably has a hand like ace-jack or better. The small blind shockingly cold calls the raise. This is setting off massive alarm bells. It's hard to imagine that he'd somehow have a draw given what we have and the action. More than likely, he has a made hand, potentially something even as good as a set, and maybe he doesn't want to scare everyone off with a rare check re-raise. The big blind folds, we're never going anywhere. Rather than re-raise, I call for 85 more to see if we can hit a 3-leaf clover or a 4. The turn is the 7 of diamonds. We don't improve. Our situation gets tricky as the small blind leads for 300. We're kind of caught in the middle here. My guess is that the small blind knows that when he check called the raise, it'd look very suspicious and perhaps freeze the betting for me and the button. It seems that he wants to ensure that this street doesn't get checked around. Folding is too weak, but I'm concerned if we call, the button could still jam behind us. That's a risk we'll have to take. I call, hopefully minimizing the amount of money that we'll be putting in on this street. The button checks his card to see if he's got what he thinks he has. Oh no. This isn't good because a lot of the time people do this when they have the nuts and are surprised that there's so much action in front of them. Well, he definitely doesn't have the nuts since he just calls, sweetening the pot for us once we make the nuts. Not this time. The river is the 8 of spades. I was happy to see a black card until my eyes adjusted and I realized we've got trash. Small blind bets 400. There's no move left for us to make. We had all the potential in the world, but we weren't able to get there. I fold. The button isn't as quick to do so. I wonder what he's considering calling with. After turning off the camera, the button calls the 400. The small blind shows a set of deuces to win the pot. The button never reveals his hand. I add on for 400 more before we pick up pocket kings in the small blind. The cutoff raises to 15. The button calls. He's a newer player at the table. It's squeeze time for us. We're going to 3-bet. Typically I choose a sizing that's 3 times the size of the initial raise, plus another multiple of that amount for the caller, and 1 more for being out of position. That puts us at a sizing of 75. That's what I make it. A lot of the time, both opponents will fold. Not here though. The cutoff calls, but the button folds. We're heads up out of position. Put the cutoff on hands like low or middling pocket pairs, some suited connectors, maybe some suited aces or Broadway cards. The flop comes 9-6-6 rainbow. It's pretty safe for us. We want to keep all the worst holdings in there. I down bet to 60. I anticipate getting calls from plenty of worse hands, including pocket pairs like queens, jacks, 10s, 8s, and 7s. Also, hands like 2 overs to the board with the backdoor flush draw may call as well. The cutoff calls. I'm a little concerned now because we could be up against trips or a boat. The turn is the 7 of clubs. After getting called and seeing another middling card that connects with the board, I want to make sure that we can get to showdown. I check for pot control purposes. The cutoff is going to stab at it. He bets 125. We're still beating plenty of hands that might bet for either value or protection, like pocket queens, jacks, or 10s, as well as hands that are semi-bluffing, like flush draws, 8-7, or jack-10 suited. I call. King on the river would be amazing. Nope. The dealer puts out the 8 of spades. There are 4 to the straight on board. It's gotten worse and worse for us. I check with plans of folding to a bet depending on the sizing. We don't have to worry about that. The button tables 7-5 of diamonds as he checks back. He wins it after flopping a gutter, turning a pair, and drilling the river to scoop the pot. Nothing's coming too easy for us today. In this one, we've got 6-4 suited on the button. To cut off open limps, we've got all the options available to us, including folding, calling, or raising. I call with our suited 1-gapper. The small blind calls, but the big blind is having none of it. He raises to 35. The cutoff folds. I chose a more passive action initially. I didn't limp in to fold while we're in position with a hand that's fun to play post-flop. I call for 30 more. The small blind folds quickly. We're heads up. The flop comes Jack 6-5 with the club. We've got middle pair and some backdoor draws. The big blind down bets at 25. If we were out of position, I'd strongly consider raising. In this case, we're getting a good price and we're in position, so I call. We may even have the best hand. The turn is the 3 of clubs, giving us some extra outs in the instances when we're behind. Now any club, 7, 6, 4, or deuce will give us the win against overpairs and hands like ace-jack. The big blind suspects that this card may have helped us improve. He checks. There's some merit to checking in order to make sure that we get to the river, but with such a strong combo draw, we can withstand a check raise. Plus, betting allows us to take control of the pot, deny equity if we're ahead, and build the pot in case we drill the river. I bet 80. I'm pretty indifferent as to what the big blind does. If he folds and we win, that's not a bad result. If he calls, that's alright. And if he raises, we have a couple of fun options available to us. The big blind calls, things are starting to get really interesting. The river is the 5 of clubs, giving us the flush, but it's a small one and the board is paired. The big blind checks. You'd possibly have a better flush than us, but he'll almost never have a full house after check calling the turn. All of his 2-pair better hands would have bet the turn or maybe check raised. When we make relatively strong backdoor hands, I like to bet on the larger side to punish our opponents. I bet 220. It's a very polarizing sizing. We've either got a monster or a hand like 8-7 or 4-3 suited. It's nearly worthless. The big blind can't justify getting away from whatever he's got. He makes the call. We turn over our baby flush. The big blind sees that he got gotted. We sneak in through the back door to rob our opponent at several hundred. I play for a little longer with no significant hands before calling it a day. I played 4.5 hours today. I lost $310. Just very few interesting situations, so there aren't even enough hands to make a full vlog out of this. So that means this going on Owen clips. Hope you guys at least got some entertainment value out of this. It's kind of fun to do this kind of a thing when, you know, there aren't really 8 to 10 interesting hands. So I appreciate you guys watching this channel, and time for me to get some dinner. That's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe buttons. It helps out the channel a ton. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. Thanks again for watching the Owen Clips channel, and I'll have main channel stuff out on Monday. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're staying safe. Good luck at the tables, and I'll see you next time.